We can go around again. Well, you need the top part. Did you give up opportunity tickets?
We're sorry to be in here, man.
Actually, it's getting.
Hey, well, how are you?
Okay, we got Nigril here, just arrived over there. Hey, everybody, and I believe we're looking at 6:30. Okay.
We all doing?
Okay, it's 6:28. All righty. Okay, we're looking at 6:29. Ready for it there. We got the peanut gallery back here. And it's 6:30, 6:31.
That's why over my head, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not, there are no follicles exposed. I don't want to. Well, we have someone else traipsing in here. We're starting late at 6:32. Was it 6:32 now?
There's some cookies over there.
Well, hey, look what they're bringing in just for me. Oh, man, I feel so special. Is that cool or what?
Mr. J. Chong? Here. Ms. Denise Jackson?
Okay. A microphone and everything. Oh my God. What next?
Ms. Yvette Romero? Rowland sorry. And Ms. Wendy Zong?
Yes.
Mr. Alex Flores?
Here.
Mr. Aubrey Craig?
Here.
Ms. Rosanna McLeod?
Here.
Mr. Marcos Rodriguez?
Roger.
Ms. Josefina Samuel? Ms. Jackman, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did everybody get a chance to go over the agenda for the evening? Do I have a second to approve the agenda? Second. I'll give that to Jan. All in favors of the agenda being approved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. This is the public speaking portion. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended further or limited by vote of the committee. A maximum of 20 minutes unless extended by the committee is allocated for each subject discussed. Ordinarily, committee members will not respond to presentations and no action can be taken. However, the committee may give direction to the staff following the presentation. We have Mr. Roy Humphreys who would like to speak.
Okay, folks, at the last meeting, Jerry Castline, member here, questioned Mr. Forrest about the Oswalt status, which caused a noticeable pause. You can see it on the video, and it doesn't pass the smell test. And it also illustrates two items. One was that Mr. Forrest was a state of shock, and that the entire committee is ignorant of the bond issues, which is a priority responsibility. Second, number two, Ms. Jackman is still here and has failed to resign for a cause written by her own hand. Natalie Moreno, as the chairman here, has failed to resign for a breach of ethics as to Harry Peterson. All of the committees share in the breaches of ethics and have the same stated, some have stated being criminal. Just see the Brown Act on my YouTube site. From the CalBOC site, we have the following. Bond Oversight Committee sometimes participate in selection and engagement of contractors, which compromises their independence. Districts lack adequate internal controls to mitigate and detect misuse of bonds. Bond Oversight Committees may not be reviewing the financial statements and backup documents such as invoices, general ledger, that details transactions. Bond Oversight Committees rely too much on audits regarding pertaining to the financial and performance audit. Bond Oversight Committees fail to provide an annual report on time and timely manner. Bond Oversight Committees allow the school districts, if you can imagine this, to run their meetings and allow the district to determine what information is to be available to the public, which we've already had the case of why Ms. Natalie Moreno should resign. Environment is right for with motivation, rationalization, and opportunity. The education code says, was that my name or what was it there? That the may engage in a number of things to include the review of financial details regarding the bond issues, and also to check out this information before they happen, not afterwards. And those who went to the CalBOC conference, we have to ask, did you learn anything? Thank you.
If everybody has had the chance to review the minutes from last meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Nay. Motion carries unanimously. Alex, would you please introduce who we have representing Nigril Nigril?
We actually have the founder of Nigril Nigril, Mr. Nigril, that will be here to talk about the
2012, 2006, bond report audit. I noticed the lights were up. We need to turn them over or. Fine.
Do you want watching? Anyone use it?
I'm fine.
Do you use it?
Big light right there.
Do you use a screen projector?
He doesn't know that.
I prefer light, dark.
We get the lights put Marcus? Or
Yeah.
That's a bit right.
There.
Well, thank you. As Alex said, he actually said I'm the founder. I should say I'm the co-founder. My wife and I founded the firm, so I want to make sure I give her full credit. So yes, I'm here to talk to you about the 2017-18 fiscal year audit, financial and performance audit of the Measure R funds. I would like to start off my presentation by talking about the difference. What is a financial audit? What is a performance audit? So a financial audit is an audit of a set of financial statements. And in this case, it's the financial statements where the district deposits its Measure R funds, which we call building fund. And in a financial audit, the auditor's objective is to give an independent opinion on the financial statements, on whether they were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, which we call GAAP.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is the microphone work? I cannot hear.
There's no microphone. There's no microphone.
The air conditioner noise.
Oh,
Do you want to sit over there?
No, can you speak
I'll
louder?
speak louder. Okay. So I'll back up. The objective of the independent financial audit is for us to give an independent opinion on the financial statements and whether they're prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And so in our auditor's report on pages 2 and 3, we're giving what's called an unmodified opinion, that's a clean opinion on the financial statements. So the financial statements that you see are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So when you look on pages 4 and 5, you'll see the actual financial statements as of June 30, 2018, for both the old Measure R and the new Measure R, 2006 and 2012. So you see at June 30, Measure R 2006 was all zeroed out, and $92 million was remaining in the new Measure R. And then like any financial audit, there's also footnotes, which start on page 6, which explain in greater detail about the financial statements. We talk about accounting policies used, different types of assets, where the cash is invested in the county treasury. There's some disclosures required about that. And then there's a footnote that describes the bonds themselves, the outstanding bonds. Even though they're not paid out of these funds per se, we still disclose the amount of debt that's outstanding on those bonds. Okay. Then page 11 and 12 is another report that we give because we did the audit in accordance with government auditing standards, which we have to follow in doing this type of an audit. So basically what we're saying is that we had to also test compliance with laws and regulations, as well as testing internal controls over those funds and how, checks and balances, making sure that proper procedures were implemented. And if we found any exceptions in any of those areas, we would report them to you with audit findings. Pleased to report there were none in that area. And then finally, pages 13 and 14, although it's the smallest portion of the report, actually the part of the audit where we spend the most amount of time, and that addresses the performance audit. Now, the performance audit is what most people think of when they hear of a bond audit. And so what is involved in a performance audit? In this light, what we're doing is determining whether the district followed basically what they said they were going to do with the funds. So we test a sample of expenditures. In this case, we tested over 58% of the total expenditures for the entire year. About $7.2 million worth of expenses in our sample. We verified that every expenditure that we looked at was in compliance with the bond language, that the district did not spend any funds outside of what was allowed for the bond language. We also look at the procurement practices. In other words, how does the district go about entering into contracts with vendors, following proper public contract code procedures and whatnot. Our performance audit also entailed coming out to the school site, and in this case, this very school site, and physically touring the improvements being made to match them up with the expenditures I showed on the book. And then finally, just making sure that, again, that the expenditures were appropriate for the fund, including anything that was accrued as payable. And I'm pleased to report that we found no instances of non-compliance. We found no areas of weaknesses of internal controls, and we found no exceptions in the audit. So that's the end of the report there. If there had been any findings, they would be following there.
Sorry, I didn't, the air conditioning, can you, what was that again?
If there had been findings, they would be after the final two pages in the report. So there's nothing to report. So a clean audit, and I'd be happy to answer any questions any of you might have.
At what stage did you tour Rowland?
That's a good question, and I don't remember. We were conducting the audit in the fall and in the spring, so it was either our visit when we came out in late May or early June, and I would imagine that's probably when it was.
Why only a 58% sample?
Why only? Well, that's actually a larger than normal sample. Yes, we normally try to achieve about 40%. And it's because, obviously, if the district wanted us to test more expenditures, they'd have to pay us more. It's really an efficiency thing. I mean, at some point, we have to stop short of testing 100% because the population of expenditures, there's so many different vendors and things to look at. If there had been, 3 or 4 really large expenditures that would have taken up a larger percentage, then we would have tested those, obviously. But because of the nature of the types of expenses, we would have had to test significantly more transactions to get a higher percentage. That's still a very large percentage of the stuff.
What was the budget set aside?
I'm sorry, the budget for what?
What was the budget set aside to do the audit?
You mean our time budget?
Yeah,
Or hours?
Yeah, your expenses.
Oh, I think our time budget's in the 75 to 85 hour range.
No, I mean, what was the total amount that was?
What's your contract for?
Yeah.
What's your contract?
I don't.
Because they're going to be put together, aren't they?
I'd have to get back to you on that, I don't know.
I can get the information.
I was
for the
just
contract.
curious.
I think it's 7,000.
That sounds reasonable? I mean,
I don't think that.
I don't remember.
How much you pay for this?
That's what.
Yeah, that's what he's asking,
He's
and
asking.
I don't remember.
How much you pay?
We have,
How much do we pay him to do
I know,
this
he
audit?
asked how many hours.
No, I'll have to look to total the costs.
And I said, I think it's around 7,000. Was that, do you remember?
I think it's 6,700.
I can get that information and send it out to you guys.
So how many hours you work for performing for this audit?
like I said, it's probably around 75 to 80 hours. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
8 hours. $1,000 per hour.
If I made $1,000 an hour, I'd be working much.
Yeah.
80 hours.
Yeah.
I'd be auditing you.
Exactly. No, it averages out to around $190 to $100 an hour.
I just kind of assumed that it was some crazy dollar amount. but-
Like $2.5 million or something like
No.
that?
Yeah, something like at least 6 figures.
No.
Oh, no. The district audit, which is $175 million worth of, that we have is around $25,000, I believe, and that's kind of high.
And we had looked into a deep forensic audit, and we were quoted about $500,000 for that. And since none of the audits have come back with findings, that's not a good way to spend the children's money.
was just wondering, just for process, if you could just kind of go over a little bit of like staff members you talk to, CBOC members you speak to, and I know you didn't do it all, you had your partner to do it also, but just in general, when you do this.
I can walk you through the process. So, as you mentioned, we also do the district's annual audit. So we obviously try to coordinate our audit when our audit team is out here working on the district's audit. We also have a team set aside to focus specifically on bond audit as well. So part of that process, well, a good number of those audit hours, when I mentioned 75 to 80 hours, not all of that time is spent here in the district. Some of it is spent in our office planning ahead of time, basically our audit plan, selecting our audit samples from the district's general ledgers. And then when we come out, we actually conduct interviews with district staff, management, as well as non-management folks. We talk to the people that are actually paying the bills, and we ask them about the controls, the procedure. You know, basically tell us what's your process for paying a vendor. We ask them outright if they're aware of anything that looks suspicious, if they have any concerns about any vendors, or if they've been ever asked to do anything that they didn't feel comfortable about, and give them an opportunity, you know, if they want to talk to us as auditors, to talk about those things. We generally pull somebody from the committee here, and typically going to be the president. And we'll ask them some questions about the planning of the audit, and if they have any specific concerns, we should look at. And like I said, we talk to district management as well. And so that's in the early phase of the audit, and then when we come back, we focus more on the final financial piece once the books are closed, and auditing the actual numbers, auditing the amount of cash that's reported, the total expenditures, and things like that. So it's a process that's spread out over the course of the year. And
The other thing too is this is an independent audit that where not we give you stuff, you ask, we don't know what you're going to ask for, and we provide.
right. And we do this audit for, you know, about 25, 26 other school districts that we do this type of an audit for. And independence is the key word. Yeah, we are, obviously the district hires us because that's how it works. You know, you select us, but we are independent. We have no stake in the outcome of the audit. You know, frankly, we get paid the same whether we have 10 findings in the report or 0 findings in the report. Our contract doesn't hinge on whether we get a clean report or not. We have several clients that don't have clean reports. And, you know, I look at it like the relationship is kind of like you might have with your doctor. You know, you might not necessarily get excited about going to see your doctor, but you know that you need to do that because they're checking for your physical well-being. And similar to that, we're looking at your financial well-being. We're running tests to make sure that things are working the way they're supposed to work, and whether there's any areas that you need to be concerned about. And so when your doctor tells you, for example, they might tell you, you know what, start eating better, start exercising more. You know, that would be similar to having an audit finding. And so we see our role. In fact, I think we did have some comments earlier, you know, a few years back when we first started on it. Fortunately, some of those things were implemented, and we do see things. So we don't really have any findings. So, good point.
I do have a question back to your fees. You mentioned somewhere about approximately $7,000.
Yeah.
That is just for this report fiscal ending June 2018.
Yes, that's.
So we could expect approximately the same thing in
It's about,
2019.
it stays about the same each year.
We would like a discount each year, but we haven't got that yet. The repeat customer.
But my comeback to that is that, you know, you get what you pay for. If you want us to charge less, then we're going to do less work.
No.
And not what you want.
We know the board would not allow that, so it's money well spent. I know you're finished your presentation. If there isn't more questions, I really want to thank the staff that's here tonight. I'm pretty proud to say there's no findings. it's pretty proud to say the work that they do, but also the credit to the CBOC, the questions you asked, the meetings that we have, our board, who also asks questions, a lot of questions that maybe you don't see publicly because it's just questions they have, and walking through these different projects. So I think it's a credit not just the CBOC and to the board, but I also want to give credit to the staff that are here that work diligently to making sure that they do cross their T's and dot their I's and make sure everything adds up and make sure everything is being done correctly. And Marcos with accountability, working with the construction managers, making sure that when there's things that are being done, that's done correctly and also being done according to what needs to be done. So it's a team effort and it's a good team, and I think that's why the results really show it, and I want to thank everyone in this room for that.
Thank you.
Russ, can you give us an update, please?
Yeah. You gonna help me?
Alex, can you introduce, please?
This is a familiar face, Mr. Russ Hall, and Mr. Russ Hall will be here to provide an update on the Rowland High School project. I know the CBOC asked for the meeting to take place at Rowland High School. I know several of you were here for the opening that we celebrated last week. And I know Russ had asked, gave him direction to make this presentation brief and sweet, to the point, so that maybe we can have some time at the end to actually tour and walk around and take a look at the administration building downstairs and upstairs, so you can see it firsthand and actually sit in those nice white seats down there.
Just gonna be my clicker.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex, for introducing me. Good evening. Alex, Russ Hall, Desmond Meyer, and I'm going to give you a presentation of some of what we've done for the Oswalt project, and then also an update for the Rowland High School project.
Can it be just a Rowland High School this time?
Sure. Start. Okay, go ahead. So we actually, first slide we're looking at is the update for the administration building. So I have put together some slides for the exterior, and those, you probably all noticed when you came in that we're working on the irrigation lines and the landscaping area. Trees are being installed, and we're working our way towards finishing up the street side and an elevator tower marquees. You'll see that they're working, but they still have some frames that are going to be installed around. This is a look of the entrance. I just included that when you saw it on the way in. You saw that also on the way in. Just kind of wanted to demonstrate some of the landscaping that's going in. Okay. And these are the trees that were being planted the other day. This was at the end of last week, so you may have noticed when you came in that the area is being graded for turf. The turf will probably be installed sometime next week, we're hoping. Okay. And of course, there's the street side view for more planting on the exterior of the building. Okay. This is the marquee sign, which is now up and running. It still gets an enclosure sheet metal frame that will go around it. Actually, hopefully that'll be installed soon. Okay.
Excuse me, is that too small?
They're gonna put a framework.
But, I mean, that is like a LED, right?
Yeah, it's 3.5 feet by 8 feet. It's a pretty typical size for a marquee. If it's too small, I couldn't answer that question. I don't design it. I install it. So I guess that would be a matter of aesthetics or subjective question.
Is that marquee on the quad also?
So the ones inside the quads are, because they're elevated, they're actually quite that large.
They're larger, okay, that's what.
But it's smaller than the bus, right?
That's pretty typical size. 3.5 feet by 8 feet is a pretty typical screen size.
Marcus, can you answer that question? Yes.
I believe it's the same size. The enclosure around the LED portion, the one at Nogales is much bigger.
You just installed one at your district office. It's like a 3.5 by 8 feet.
Screen, so you're saying the enclosure is frame around
Right,
it.
Right,
But the screen itself is
They're
the same size.
they're pretty much all typical.
Yeah, the display surface area.
So I think if I could just, the screen is the same size from, but the enclosure, there's gonna be a black piece that's gonna go around here, like 6 inches on and on, and like 12 inches at the bottom top. It's gonna make it black, make it look a bigger sign. And,
Yeah, when you see
It's
the
not
one,
complete.
when you see the one at Nogales, it's got almost 3.5 feet of top end on it, and then the foot to the side, so it looks a lot bigger than what it actually is. But if you look at the screen size, all of these screens are almost identical in size.
they're all basically around the same price. The Nogales product was $70,000. The district was $66,392. I'm not too sure exactly what the numbers are. But,
I'm sure some of what the
Very
designer
similar.
was trying to achieve in this particular scenario was giving us an elevation so it can be seen from a further distance down the street. If you were mounted at a lower height, obviously you couldn't see it. And in doing so, I assume they selected that design to go with it. It kind of fits the rest of the campus design.
I have a question. The light that comes from that particular sign, will that be a problem for any of the neighbors?
It can be, to be honest with you, but these things are set up so the displays are computer controlled, and you could write into the program, there's options for shutting off the display. I believe the one at Nogales, that one shuts off, I'm gonna say from 11:30 to 6 in the morning. If you go by there at a certain time of the night, it's actually dark. The only thing you see is the upper part that is, and they could all be programmed.
That's good to know.
Yeah, and the programming portion of that has now been turned over to the local IT department here at the high school, so they can address it.
I was just thinking that if the neighbors complain about the light,
And they
there's an
could
option
be,
for that.
and they could complain depending on the light color combination that they choose. I know for a fact that the one at the bar shuts off at a certain time too, because that one's directly across the street from residents.
Right.
That one's programmed to shut.
I guess it's probably a little advantageous that it's perpendicular to the street on the road, so it's not shining that way, but yeah, I'm sure it could be
Well, I know
considered.
there's LED signs that are on the 60 freeway
Oh,
that we can see from our
Yeah,
house.
yeah,
But that-
I can't
It
believe they allow
definitely
those.
stands
But
out.
the intent for that is to see it, again, when this was designed 5 or 6 years, whenever we started the design on this, this was the size, and we just, the marquee at the district and also at Nogales, which was recently for us, is around the same size, so they haven't changed. Maybe that was part of the design aspect of our being a good neighbor. The larger the sign, the more lights, the more looms.
That's
That
what I was
maybe,
thinking.
we always want to be a good neighbor, even if you turn it off at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock, it's still, when it's on, and it can be distracting too, so, we could ask the architect that question and follow up with that. So it could be the reason why it's that maximum size for that.
Depending on how late we're here tonight, we might see it on the way up. It's a good breakfast.
Can I also ask a question?
Sure.
Is that, other than the frame that's going to go around it, is that completed?
Yes.
Well,
Because
yes and no. It's completed, but there's some aesthetic things we're gonna do, like with the letters, is actually putting a black background inside so they pop out, they match the top. And then we're also looking at getting a rendering of putting this is award-winning school of the California State School, and also the Gold Ribbon, to put both of those logos on that too. And then we also have the option afterwards, there's a suggestion about painting it.
Yeah,
This
or
is-
some kind of ceiling, because I've noticed that when it rains,
It looks old.
yeah, it looks like discolored. You know how when you have cement that gets wet and it doesn't get wet evenly, so it looks kind of.
So just recently, some community members shared that with me, so I have already shared that with staff and for us to look at after, to look at those
But I think
options.
that's a good idea to put things.
We want to capture the black to make sure it gets the marquee, and then actually the color of the emblems
Yeah.
will make it really pop out too, and look at maybe some glossy ceiling kind of thing too, to keep it that water doesn't penetrate it, to keep
Right.
that look.
we're scheduled to be here on site till the end of August, so between now and then, you know, if you give some direction to handle
Yeah.
it differently, then we'll.
So they just want to involve the principal and the school side, I don't really want to, and also.
That's kind of an update on this building. Moving over to the building that is to the east of us here is the kitchen, NPR. And there's also a band room over there as well. But I broke it up because it's such a big building. The kitchen NPR area itself is 13,663 feet. Of course, there's the kitchen prep area, interior speed lines. There's exterior pass-through windows for point of sale for the food for the students. Of course, there's walk-in freezer and cooler boxes, kitchen staff office, closets. Obviously, there's an interior staff dining area and an exterior staff dining patio. The dining patio has not been constructed yet, so if you haven't been through the site before, you haven't seen that yet. It's not done. The Performing Arts Theater, which is the other section of the building, is 18,718 square feet. It seats 615 people. There's obviously a deer stage with curtain and scene rigging. That would seem like a pretty obvious item, but it's a full performance art theater that has, I think there's 28 to 30 different curtains for full performance in there. The main lobby is of course equipped with restrooms, the ticket booth outside, and a lobby concession counter inside. In the back of the stage, there's a large scene shop, props and costume storage areas. There are performer dressing rooms and restrooms. There's lighting out of control rooms on the back side of the stage area, and there's, of course, upper level catwalk systems for access for lighting and helping with the productions. Okay. The theater, kitchen, and NPR current construction activities are to the point now where we're working on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing rough-in. We're just about done with the rough-in and getting ready to start the trim out on it. The interior all metal frames and doors are being installed. Interior drywall is well underway, it's being hung tape. The interior tile is being laid in the restrooms. It's typical what you've already seen elsewhere. The plaster final coat is being applied. Actually, they're just wrapping up with that. The north side of the building, they're taking the scapping down for that now. The stage ring equipment has been delivered on site, which is a good thing, because sometimes that's a long lead item. The catwalks are nearing completion, the handles will be up soon. Kitchen and freezer boxes are set. I probably should have stayed in the kitchen and I guess that's my fault. Next steps over in that building will be the interior and exterior painting of the building, installation of the windows, frames, ceiling systems, and lights. So you can tell by that last line there that we're on the fine ring of the project. This would be a view of the exterior of the building before it was plastered. That is the south side of the stage. And that is also the south side of the building, but that is the NPR building section. This would flip over to the north side looking at the NPR entrance. And that would be over at the theater entrance. It's a little more dramatic than that. You can't really tell by that slide, but it has a large green shade cloth there to stop the liquid from flying around. I wanted to include this slide to show for some of you who knew that we were using the portable P27 as a low voltage hub that has since been removed and cleared out of the way. And we are now filming flat work in that area to move forward with the particular improvements. That's a look at where we're at with the NPR room. We've got installation going in. Some drywall in there. Okay. Yeah, it's just a quick look at one of the staff restrooms there for the kitchen employees. This is the progress of the inside of the kitchen area. That would be the point of sale window there to the left for the students, for the rest of the window for their meals. And that's the back area of the kitchen where we'll be doing the prep. And then through that opening there on the right would be the staff dining area. The cooler boxes. That's another look at the staff dining room area.
Russ,
Yes.
can you go back one slide? Is most of the building insulated like that?
Yes, not like that. The exterior walls actually have a foil bath which is, provides a higher value of insulation interior walls that require all that. But it's all,
So that's an
it's all
extra wall?
longer interiors. Yeah, but it's all insulated, all the walls are insulated. Yeah.
Okay.
This is a look from the stage, looking back towards the back of the stage, looking out towards the seating area. This would be looking the reverse way, so this would be up at the control room, looking down at the performance area of the stage. And this is on the stage itself, looking sideways up towards some of the reading platforms. Okay, so this is the theater lobby looking out back towards us to the west. And then the next slide is just a reverse look of the lobby looking to the east. So through those two doors on the right would be the entrance to the theater. That metal frame section there would be the concession stand. And then the restroom would be over to your left. The band and fire rooms are together, are 7,800 square feet. There's of course a fire room. 3 practice rooms, a band room, a band practice room, and an office. Instrument storage room, instrument storage rack system that would be delivered at the end, and then there's 2 row storage rooms for all the band costumes. That's a look at the progress of the band room. Obviously, we're putting in the drywall right now and taping. We're going to have the painter probably show up on Monday and start painting the interior area. So fire room, the progress there is typical to the band room. And the special education building, which is where the old temporary portables were for the administration staff, has been cleared out of the way. We're getting ready to dig footing for that building, which is 2,100 square feet. There's 3 classrooms there, 2 offices, and 2 restrooms. That is a floor plan, which is kind of stretched out, so you can see the 3 classrooms there with the 2 restrooms that are jointly connected to the classrooms, and also the offices. This is what the area looked like last Friday when I took these pictures. Since then, we've started to excavate for the footings. Once the footings are excavated, next week we'll be putting the steel reinforcement in the ground. And if things go well, by the end of the week, hopefully we'll be pouring concrete inside those footings to get ready to start standing some steel. Our upcoming phase 3 work would include the construction of the special education building, the new main parking lot. We'll be removing the temporary hideout building, which is on the back basketball courts. We'll be installing new asphalt and concrete on the exterior basketball courts that are in the very back of the campus. We'll be removing the temporary kitchen portable building. We'll pour concrete in its place. We're going to remove the asphalt and plant grass over in the contractor laydown yard behind the pool. And then we're going to make a number of site repairs before we normalize the site. Put it back in good condition. So in summary, it was a 3-phase project that we began in 2016, scheduled to be completed in August of 2017. Phase 2 started in 2017 and is scheduled to begin in August of 20. Slide up. I'm giving myself some real time here. Yeah, I got lots of time. Probably great for no reason. That's embarrassing. The new administration building was completed on schedule. It's occupied and we're in it now, so there. The theater and kitchen building is obviously under construction. It's like very underway for the special education building. Phase 3 parking lot will begin when school's out in June, and then we'll be off and running. We'll be done. I mean, if we get done by then, I'll just do that. Yeah, we'll see why we won't. We're on schedule to get there. We're on schedule.
Question related to the landscaping that you talked about, how you're going to have turf installed. Are you using drought resistant turf or
Marathon, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty typical. Actually, I think it's a Bermuda, I'm sorry. Same thing we use in front of the art building. far as its resistance to drought, I'm not exactly sure what the qualities are there. That's a good question, but I don't know how it stands up to drought.
And the irrigation system is reclaimed water, correct?
The site was reclaimed before we started and remained reclaimed.
Any questions?
Thank you again. And thank you for also reminding us that you didn't design it, but you're building it. That's something that sometimes a lot of us weren't here when these designs were being, all of us weren't here. Or some of our current board members weren't here when our first time. That's why all the pressure's on the next presentation for the Oswalt.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that.
Next victim. Thank you, Russ. Alex, could you?
Yes, our architect from Zimba Prieto is here. And again, we just bring the top ranking people. This is the president, owner of the Zimba Prieto.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My presentation is going to be shorter. I don't have a slide presentation. It's all verbal. And it's mostly an update of where we're at today, what has transpired in the last month and a half or so. We attended 2 presentations at Oswalt Academy. One was for the staff, and the other one was for the community. The staff presentation was well attended by staff. After our presentation, we broke out into smaller groups and field some questions and answer as many questions as possible. There was a lot of interest on the designs. There was valuable input from the staff on some of the specific design areas, and we're addressing those as we're putting together our documents for DSO submittal. The community presentation was not as well attended. I believe we were only 2 community members and about 8 or so parents present. The questions that were presented to us were mostly regarding construction, not so much about the design process or the design of the project. They were related to noise, the dust, hours of construction, and whether or not there were going to be work done during the school hours and so forth. It is a 3-year phased project, so there will be construction during the school hours. Mr. Flores addressed a lot of these questions and concerns from the community. The school is a very small site, and so there is not going to be, there isn't another campus where you can put the students in. So most of the, like I said, most of the construction will be during school hours or later in the days. There were some concerns about some issues pertaining to the December that were minimal, and they were addressed mostly during the previous design presentations. We're currently working on the construction documents for the DSA submittal process and review. We're working concurrently for the main campus construction documents as well as for the interim housing construction documents. And the interim housing is to house the students after being moved around the site while the construction is happening over the next 3 years. The plans or the project was registered with DSA on March 11th, and the formal submittal to DSA will be on April 22nd. Since then, we have obtained CTS approval of the geotechnical report for the project, and pretty much we're on the schedule for our submittal. We have a meeting with Marcus and the Desmond team on a bi-weekly basis where we're coordinating the project together. And that is our update at this time. Once we submit to DSA, we then will provide an update presentation to the board. Any questions?
I know at the second community meeting, you had said that you were going to take into account some of the changes that the staff wanted. Have you been working on that?
We have. And again, this last presentation, we got additional input that we're working on.
It's a constant refinement. present, show, and then make some changes. And really with the teachers, it's really stressing with the teachers and see in the classroom, how can they have the best classroom to teach our kids? And that's what it's all about. So that's why there's some input, and they're very, very minor. Jorge did a great job, him and the staff, presenting and giving input, showing the color board, showing the actual materials that will be used to. And it can be some simple things like in the kindergarten. The teachers didn't like the different colored squares where kids could sit on. He was building into it, so they would want to have one continuous thing. But you find that when there's 4 teachers, one may want something and 2 may not. So you're never, I just found you're never going to make anyone happy. But we're at the point where it's just defined little details, and it's all about preference at this point. It really is about preference. But for functionality and getting that input and changing it, it's been a really good process. And when it came to the community portion, I was really hoping there'd be more community, but only 2 members showed. But you know, our parents are our community also. And our parents actually are there. And the questions, honestly, were not about design. They were not about this project. It was like Jorge said, it was all about the last project and about the noise it made, what are the hours, and you know, the dust that it made, and to making sure that you know we minimize that as much as possible. But I think we answered most of their concerns, and they seemed very happy with the answers.
Even the little girl student, there was one student there, and she raised her hand, and her main thing was to make sure that there was still an area for them to have movie day when it's movie day day.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Now, this time we hope Russ can come back up now and just talk about your bi-monthly meetings. So one of the things that the Board of Trustees did is allowed us to hire a construction manager early in the process. Seeing the value added that we received when we had a construction manager review the plans at Rowland High School, and just the nice flow of construction that we had here, we were able to bring, with the support of the board, a construction manager sooner so that they could be working in conjunction with the architect to have the best set of design plans submitted to DSA, although the real work for them starts when DSA plan is submitted, to look inside the walls and inside the design to making sure all the notes that are needed for the construction, for the contractor to be able to have, to know how they're going to build and how they're going to bid that project. So Russ?
Okay, I don't have anything formally written first, but I can explain it since I've been involved in it. Like Roy had mentioned, we're having bi-weekly meetings, which is what I would call a team meeting, because the district is there, the architect is there, and the construction manager is there. And in addition to that, we have had certain departments from the district that are integral to the design. The IT department has had input. Food services department has had input. As a matter of fact, we've got doing a dialogue there to the point where her kitchen is finalized and done. Okay, she's taking care of every little outlet, every little shelf. She's squared away the way she wants it and the way the architect thinks that it's going to work best. The architect, as most of you probably know by attending some of these meetings, doesn't design everything without help. He uses consultants. They use consultants, a lot of consultants. Electrical, mechanical, plumbing, landscape. I mean, there's just a myriad of consultants, and we've had their involvement, not only secondhand but firsthand at these meetings, to look at how we're going to patch this project together. And by that I mean, it's one thing to draw a complete project on a set of plans. It's another thing to know that you're not going to be putting it all in with everybody else's site. So we've been overlaying plans and looking at stop and starting places for underground utilities. That's been one of our major concerns as far as the review process has gone at this point. Now, of course, a lot of the design items have also been discussed in these plans, and that's where Marcos and Alex have helped out quite a bit. And I think that secondhand documentals also provide some information there as far as reducing some of the glazing sizes, some of the window sizes, so there's not as much glare, and of course the typical tactile things like colors and carpets and those type items. So there has been that going on too. for me as a construction manager, or my behalf, is to try to figure out how to take a master plan and put it together in pieces now.
Has anything come back from soils yet?
We have the report,
Okay.
and we're just diving into it and making, double checking on the items to make sure that we don't need to do anything different. There hasn't been anything out of the ordinary that we've seen on the report.
Okay. Thank you again. Okay, next on the agenda is also what we've done. So going to the community meetings, the sign tours, the meetings we had here, going to the annual CalBOC conference, all of that goes in, and it's just a little page or so. It's a little more involved, but it's kind of like a historian report as to what we have done for the year.
We're never going to the CalBOC meeting.
The California Bond of California,
And who attended?
I did, Yvette did, and Alex did. That was on Monday of this week. And I was gonna have Yvette speak a little bit. Well, no, I'll speak too.
And Josefina invited other members of non-con, and I guess there was a conflict with your calendar, so hopefully next year you guys can make it.
I was there last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there, but.
And this year was a little different. This year was a little different. Last year, they really got into bond issuances, and when was it a good time and when was it a bad time to issue bonds and the different percentage rates. They circled around on that this year a little bit. They also, the keynote speaker was the California treasurer, and she's going to be in Rowland Heights next week. We were the only school from Los Angeles County that went. And this year was more focused. They spoke on what to look when you're reading, what to look for when you're reading an audit. So I was glad that I got a copy earlier, so I could pour through it and take some time. And they went over a little bit of the accounting standards and principles. They also had a couple of people speak about the disparity between socioeconomical areas and the access to bond funds and matching state funds. So we did, that was that.
For example, Beverly Hills School District, of course, you get a bond, the community's gonna vote for a bond there, you know, as opposed to this area, where they can't pass a bond there. And the disparity between 60,000 people, 6,000. Okay, that was very, very interesting. That this community was fortunate enough to be able to pass a bond to help us.
Yvette and I did speak with a gentleman who wanted to know how to get the school district to give him the financial reports that we receive every meeting. Yes, because he was having a hard time with that. He was having a hard time with a few other things, and a few of the different school districts were having those kinds of issues. And
Yeah, it's interesting to go and see what other community bond committees are going through, and then you sit back and go, wow, we're pretty good here, you know. And the fact that to have an assistant superintendent with us, they were like, what? He was the only assistant superintendent there. It's like, I guess, apparently, I didn't know, but apparently that's unusual, that you would have, you know, that cooperation between.
we talked to somebody who, with the agendas that we do, I make. Josefina's kind enough to type them up and print them out. But he didn't even make his own agendas. So
It was dictated to him what was going to be on the committee's agenda. So I think it was interesting to see another side, a different perspective, yeah. Different perspective. And And that there are checks and balances out there. You know, you could make the argument, well, you know, you get an audit is what the district provides for you. And they gave you information where you can check that, you know, it was, I forget the number, it was called the state,
14?
was that the number? I wrote it down in my notes, but I have a number. But if you don't, you know, if you want to do some more investigation or to make sure that what you're getting is accurate, there's also the state audit that you can verify things with. If there's any concern.
Or was it federal?
Was it
No,
federal?
I think it was
federal.
federal.
I know there was
a
different
federal
one. It
system.
wasn't just going by this audit here, that you could check it. So.
And what an independent auditor should be looking at when they're doing the performance audit. And all of the audit that we received tonight, all of those bases were hit.
Is it a general thing for most districts to pay for the actual audits?
Yes, but they pay for it out of their funds, not bond funds.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, it
Is
is.
it normal for the district to do that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Because it's part of their operational protocol to meet their responsibilities for the bond. Back to the annual report. Who wants to help me? Okay. So Yvette and I will work on it if that is okay with you guys. Is there consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I want to ask about this is we have the May meeting, Josefina. And last year we didn't have a quorum. So that May meeting is where you'll approve you'll discuss it, review it, make any final edits. It's your report, not ours.
So please show up to the next.
So if for some reason we don't have a quorum, we're going to try to schedule another meeting between that day and the June board meeting that we would be presenting, that you guys would be presenting it. So just want to let you guys know.
Okay.
Is the next meeting on the 29th of May? Just verifying, sorry.
I believe so.
Yes, and the main thing on the agenda is the annual report. And then after we do the typewritten, when it comes to pictures and glossy paper, I'll go ahead and use district resources for that. Did you want to say anything else about that?
No, other than that, I found it very informative, and sometimes when you sit on a committee, you're not exactly sure what to look for. And it was very informative, especially the last two speakers. The first part was, I like to say, a lot of data-driven. You know, it was very data-driven, and it didn't get to the meat of what our role is and what we're supposed to be looking for. But then it got better. It got better, and it was very informative. I felt for myself anyway, being new to a committee and not knowing what to look for, and so for me it was very important.
Well, I appreciate you attending. It's a long day.
It is a long day.
You know, waking up at 3:30 in the morning and flying up and flying back down so that we avoid any hotel expenses or anything like that. So thank you so much for doing that.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to receive the financial report. Can I get a motion to receive? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Aubrey?
Don't follow.
Can
Everyone's standing at the Good evening, Madam President, CBOC board members, and to the community. Tonight I will be presenting to you the Rowland High School New Edition financial report as of March the 22nd, 2018. The Rowland High School New Edition project is budgeted at $54 million. Of that $54 million, $52,469,035 has been committed, which represents 97.2% of the total budget. Of the total budget, $40,716 and $40,716,190 have been expended so far, which represents 75.4% of the total budget. The remaining 24.6% is yet to be spent. Are there any questions?
Is that for Rowland only, or is that for?
That's for Rowland High School.
Do we spend the other $2 million right now?
24?
No.
All right, but eventually, hopefully when we're done,
So all those constructions that Russ was showing would be the 24%, remaining 24%?
Yes.
yes.
So what's left to be done?
Yeah.
And as the construction gets closer to theirs, that's where we start paying off. And we still retain a certain amount of money, and we don't pay 100% until after everything's approved and passes DSA inspections to make sure that if there's anything needs to go back and to get done, we have some money to have it done by the contractor. If they don't do it, we use that money to pay someone else to do it. It rarely happens though. One piece I wanted to talk about on this information, we give credit to CBOC, up at the CalBOC, and one of the comments was that people didn't know, like, they could never get any fiscal reports, they couldn't get any fiscal information. And we were very fortunate because attending the CalBOC was the owner of Colby. And we basically shared to some of the people in the committee that the CBOC in our district designed it. The information that you guys requested for fiscal was designed by the CBOC members at the time with the Colby president King. And I thought that, you know what, it might be an idea for us, it's a new CBOC, there's new people, maybe we should have the Colby person come back again and do their presentation and see if this is still working for you. And if it's not, what we could present to show you some more information when it comes to our fiscal. Since we've only had the 2012 bond, we've only had the Rowland High School project, you only even see one sheet of paper. Now that Oswalt really is starting, there'll be two. So there might be something you may want to see differently. So if that's the pleasure of the CBOC, then I would like to have him invite him to have him come in so he can get your input and go over this system again for everyone who's new on the CBOC. Would you like that?
Does it cost money?
No, I wouldn't pay him. I would tell him that's what we expect from the work that he does for us. And actually, to be quite honest with you, the information he gets from you and the stuff that we developed here were some of the good things that he actually used it when he sells and markets it with other people. So, I mean, why charge him?
Especially with your idea.
We'll copyright it.
I have a question. On the commit status, does the contract change it? Is nearly 1 million, was that?
That's just, whenever there's something, you have a budget of 54 million. So whenever a new contract or something comes up, maybe some additional repairs or something that needed, they purchase some, like you said, you purchase some things for your landscaping, and at the time it was not known what you wanted to do. So it's not like a new contract, it's just another PO to purchase those items. So whenever something else is purchased, it reports as a a contract check, but it's not a contract check.
So
It's
does that
addition
mean
to-
we put like a 2% cushion for some actual change of the contract?
No, basically, you have a, how it's designed is that when you have a project, each project has a number. Based on those different projects, there's X amount of dollars allocated for that project. So at the time, you may have landscaping to do, but you haven't spent it as of yet. It's time you do the report, it's in the budget, but it has not spent. So whenever you go out and purchase something for it, it adds to this and say there's additional to the contract or something. But you should already budget for it. This is just showing that the details of what you purchased, that was increased since the last time. Which goes towards the commitment as well as the expense.
And that amount is cumulative, correct?
Yeah.
Not since we got this report last. Okay, I would like to ask for a revote, because I should have voted after, requested motions after he presented, not before. I jumped the gun a little bit. So can I have a move to accept the financial report? Okay. Would you like to second? Yes? Okay, would everybody who is in favor say yay?
Okay.
Any opposed? The motion still carries. Did any committee members have any questions or comments?
We turn these into just committee night? Because they're due April 1st, right?
Yes. Yeah, so I went ahead and prepared everybody's conflict of interest statements that I can have you sign it. Because yes, they are due April 1st to the county.
Unless you've done it electronically.
They're not eligible.
They're not, okay.
And that's another thing that we had learned at the CalBOC. It's a big issue with, like, especially charter schools, that they're not completing 700 homes a year.
If I do one of these for another thing that I'm in, do I have to do two of them, or, because there's a section up there where it says if there are other offices?
For the school district?
No, it's not for the school district, it's separate.
So that's if you filed one and you want to list other organizations. That's a choice. You can do two separate if you file one for another organization. I didn't have that information, so I only did one for this.
I don't have a problem doing it twice, I just wanted to see if I should be logging.
You don't have to because now you already filled this form filled out.
Okay.
And Russ and Marcos are here, and we'll walk you the upper building here, show you all the classrooms in here, the back rooms, and downstairs also. There's no lighting inside the theater right now, so unfortunately we can't take you into the theater area and out of safety issues. But if you would like to schedule time for us to walk you there and to show you that, we'd be more than happy honor that request. And what times are best for that? If we wanted to walk like during the day? Because I don't want to do the impact time at all when we're working.
Yeah, I mean, we're till 3, so.
And so about between 3 and 4? So around 3 or 4, if anybody want to come down, just call us if you know, we'll set it up. And either Mark or us or myself will walk through.
Can I get a motion to end the meeting? Second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Meeting adjourns at 7:45.
It was great going to Cal. I'll show you how great we're doing over here.
That's what, yeah.
All understand.
Can't do it like a sport, but like.